Hi, my name is Evelina Zemlich. When I worked at Critical Reflex, I went by Dragoncito. Also, like any Evelinas or Avas that you see in the credits of Critical Reflex games from the time frame of 2022 to 2025, that's me. I worked there for a total of 2 years and 7 months. This was my first job in the video game industry. I worked at Critical Reflex for 2 years and 7 months, and I never got the contract that I was promised. I basically worked without a contract simply because the CEO and founder just kept on coming up with excuses as to why I can't get a contract, although I was working like a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. There were no benefits to working at Critical Reflex aside from paid vacation days, which is the bare minimum. I was only getting paid 720 euros, and it's like that's it. Like no social benefits, no social security, nothing of that sort. The company is based in Cyprus, and that is below the minimum wage in Cyprus. And on top of that, according to the law in Cyprus, employees are supposed to get contracts, and employees are supposed to have a whistleblower channel where they can make statements about the higher-ups. For the time that I worked there, there was no HR, and any conflict, paycheck delays, stuff that like HR should have been dealing with this whole time had been managed by the CEO and founder. And it wasn't even the case that other community managers were getting paid the same. There were community managers who were on the same level as me, as in not senior, not a lead community manager just like me, getting paid way more than me. One coworker was getting paid about 1,100 a month, and another coworker was getting paid around 1,500 a month. That was just so disrespectful, and that is when I just decided that I'm going to quit. So before I quit, I just want to say that not having a contract, having constant payment delays, and other HR related problems was not even the worst thing that happened to me while I was working there. I was sexualized and sexually harassed by both the founder and a producer who used to work there. So after I left, so I quit in February, and then sometime in March I sent a statement, a complaint to two higher-ups that I trusted, to write a complaint about Ted Henschke, because he sexually harassed me throughout my time working with him. And I basically wrote this complaint because I knew that other people were having a hard time working with him, and I just wanted for my coworkers to have a better place to work at. And that's why I went to the higher-ups, because I knew that the higher-ups were the one who would pressure the founder into firing him. So that was that. Now, I really don't want to go over those messages on video. I don't want to read them again. If anyone is interested in reading my complaint that I sent to the higher-ups, it's going to be linked below. I, unfortunately, also had to deal with getting sexualized by the CEO and founder of Critical Reflex, Rita Lebedeva. When I joined Critical Reflex, it was not a successful indie publisher. In the beginning, the intro that played, those were the games that I played, like that I worked with at the time, and I loved those games. I absolutely loved working with other people. It genuinely felt like jolly cooperation, but unfortunately there were just like these two invaders that always got in the way of the jolly cooperation, and those two invaders were Ted and Rita. So I been streaming on Twitch since 2019, and I've had my own socials. By the time that I got hired at Critical Reflex, I was a partnered Twitch streamer. I had a TikTok account that had about 120,000 followers, and one of the producers at Critical Reflex reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in interviewing for a junior community manager role. I was really excited because it seemed like something that I love to do could actually be a career path. The technical assignment that I did was basically find influencers for their existing games, create some like memes and assets, kind of like strategize a little bit, and I loved that. However, it seemed like the reason why Rita wanted me to work there was to kind of be like their in-house streamer. It felt very, I'd say, kind of like greedy and bizarre. I was excited to do work, labor, not be silly and get paid for that. And as soon as I joined, it's like I was like the resident Zoomer. Although I've been working since like the age of 14, for me, Twitch and TikTok were just an outlet to be creative and silly. As soon as I joined, it's like she hyper fixated on me. She would give me a lot of attention that I never really asked for. For example, she gifted me this expensive webcam. It's a Logitech Brio. I try not to use it, and after this comes out, I'm just gonna donate it simply because I want it out of my life. So basically, she always flirted with me, sent me suggestive pictures and stuff like that. So, for example, during her honeymoon, she was messaging me and she told me that she misses me. And I said, "Oh, we all miss you." And she was like, "Yeah, but I only miss you." And it's like, it's kind of like, that's how you would talk to like your actual gal pals, your girlfriends and stuff like that, not to someone you just hired. At that point, it hasn't even been like 6 months since I worked there. Like, that was first months of me working there. We would hang out a lot around that time, and it genuinely just didn't click in my head that was happening. What was happening was just like really unhealthy. And she basically would insert herself into my life a lot. She followed my Instagram account, started DMing me. You know, as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my god, that's so embarrassing. My boss follows my Instagram account. But I'm like, okay, I'm like a streamer, I'm a public figure anyway, whatever. But she would kind of, I don't know how to even like explain this, but she would be like watching my streams and stuff. Basically kind of like always being there. For example, she would always message me when it's been a while since I've streamed. She'd be like, "Hey, where are the streams? What happened? Why aren't you streaming?" And it's like, that wasn't a part of my job. Like, that was my own thing on the side. And I would she would always put me on the spot with these kind of questions. And because I still liked her at that point, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, I just don't know what to stream. So she would go to our work chat and be like, "Hey guys, Ava doesn't know what to stream, suggest games." And it just genuinely felt like everyone was aware of my streams and like watching them, and it just felt really, I didn't want that. I really wanted to build a career that had nothing to do with my Twitch streams. And unfortunately, apparently she didn't like that. In 2023, so like 6 months in of me working at Critical Reflex, I basically started getting harassed by 4chaners. And that was the first time that ever happened to me.
And before that, 4chan to me was like this urban legend. Like 4chaners were like these people that infiltrated Area 51. Like he did not divide us. I had no idea that they would ever be interested in me. And before that, they were not. At that point, I started streaming in 2019. So by the time that it was 2023, it's been 4 years of me streaming on Twitch. And in those 4 years, I was never targeted by 4chaners. I had some online stalking situations, but never targeted harassment. And it was really just, oh my god, like that stuff was terrifying. Basically, these people were trying to find out where I lived. Someone actually DM'd me my address. What else? Anytime I would go live, I would get bombarded on all of my socials, on Instagram and on Twitter, and it was just a lot to deal with. I had just turned 21, and I was like, oh, what the hell? So I was 21, trying to build a career in the gaming industry. I had this Twitch thing, and it was an incredibly dark and hard time for me. And the stress from it all, and like, I pretty much got used to it. Like 2 months in, I got used to it. And this happened in like January 2023. So the next thing that happened was that when I was 20, I kind of started trying to figure out like what was wrong with me. I was basically having really, really bad meltdowns all the time. I was in a lot of pain. I was just like, what the hell is going on with me? I started researching like what could it possibly be, and basically personality disorders came up, and I started reading about that, and I understood that I had to go to a psychiatrist. But as I was researching all of these personality disorders, there was one comment that stood out to me that said, oh, doctor, can you please talk about how women with autism are actually quite often misdiagnosed with PPD? And at that point, like, my whole life flashed before my eyes, because it's like, oh, that explains it. That explains the light sensitivity. That explains the horrible meltdowns that I had. That explains my very like rigid thinking, kind of like very literal. That explains a lot of like socialization problems that I've had. That explains a lot of things. But I still decided to go to a psychiatrist, and Rita was aware of that. I had gone to a psychiatrist in Moscow, and I paid for all of this out of pocket because I really needed answers. And after basically going to the psychiatrist, having a 1-hour talk, then getting evaluated by a clinical psychologist, they together came to the conclusion, this is actually what they said, you are very special, but it's not noticeable to the untrained eye. And I said, by very special, you mean like I have autism? And she was like, no, you can't have autism. You have a job and you don't drool, so you don't have autism. And that to me explained everything. I was like, okay, this doctor just is, this was in Moscow, Russia. For those of you who don't know, autism is still widely misunderstood by a lot of doctors. Some doctors just weren't trained in it. And I was like, okay, it's just a case of that. And I moved on with my life. I started reading about the experiences of other women who were diagnosed with autism in their adulthood, and it really helped me out. However, when I turned 21, because of the stuff that happened in my childhood, kind of like resurfaced and hit me all at once. And it was a very, very hard time for me, and that was that. There will be a conversation between my now husband, then friend, and ex-boyfriend who reached out to her to get some help. Yeah. As soon as this started happening, I instantly reached out to her, and she instantly downplayed it. She was telling me that it's not a big deal, they're just 4chaners, they're not going to do anything. So that was the support that I got from her in regards to that, as my boss. Any other coworker that I talked to about this have been so incredibly helpful and empathetic, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So, another thing is that I think she was trying to, like, this sounds really funny, but I think she was trying to make me be more like her. She loves anime, and for, like, New Year 2023, so in Russia you don't celebrate Christmas, like Catholic Christmas, you celebrate New Year's. She had gifted me Needy Streamer Overload, Yuppie Psycho, a porn game called Orc Massage, and then Idol Manager, and something else. I will probably have a screenshot of all the games that she gifted me. All around, like, the thing that she would constantly do is tell me bad things about other employees. It's almost like I couldn't get along with other employees, and I just want to say that I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person she has treated this way, but I'm talking about my experience right now. She had a bad thing to say about every single employee, and it's like, that guy is a loser 4chan coomer. That guy, he's lousy. Oh, and by the way, she made a joke about how, like, you should be a webcam model for Critical Reflex. I think that she made that joke. It's my speculation that she made that joke because I've worked with that guy, and he was never creepy towards me. We've had our indifferences, but, like, he never hit on me, he never was inappropriate towards me. The only two people who were wildly inappropriate towards me were Ted and Rita, but she would badmouth other people, like superiors, coworkers, and everything, and I think she was just, like, constantly aiming for, like, there to not be a team. Like, we were supposed to be the community management team, but it's like, why are you interfering so much then? Like, why are you doing all of these things? And I know for a fact that she had plenty of bad things to say about me, but they had to do with me faking autism, me over exaggerating how bad my 4chan situation was, also her exaggerating how long I had a tough period at work. And I just want to say that the ways that, like, other people would be treated, there was a person who was going through a hard time, and she gave him a month-long vacation, whereas she knew that I had a suicide attempt, and that same week I just worked. There was also a time where we had the Orcs launch, and I had a food poisoning. And I was fine with working, but it's just, like, the fact that, like, a boss doesn't even, you know, say, like, hey, don't just take some time off work. You know, you have a food poisoning. No. No. So, yeah, that was that. The next step that I'm going to talk about is already going to be a bit of a jump to 2024, late 2023, 2024, when Critical Reflex started gaining popularity. So around that time, Ted Henschke joined Critical Reflex as head of productions. Prior to that, he worked at DreadXP, and prior to that, he was a game journalist. And he worked with very well-known games. Amanda the Adventurer, Mortuary Assistant, Sucker for Love, Silent Hill 2, he got a special thanks. So he was someone who lived and breathed indie games. So when he joined our company, and, like, we were told that he has autism and ADHD, I was so incredibly excited because I was like, oh my god, like, this is a successful autist. And I was so excited that we were gonna work with him. And just like with Rita, I was yet again given a lot of special attention, and within the first few days he instantly started flirting with me, hitting on me, and I would constantly lay the boundaries and say that I had a boyfriend when In fact, I didn't just have a boyfriend, I was engaged. I had a fiance. And it went on for months where it's like he would be hitting on me, like giving me tasks, trying to like make me hang out with him more and stuff like that. But I was just trying to stay back. I was trying to stay back. And then after I said that I'm engaged, that's it. Task stopped. He stopped messaging me. So there was that. I'm not bitter. I'm really happy that he stopped. And yeah, I wanted to quit Critical Reflex much earlier, but because I was trying to reunite with my now husband, then fiance, I didn't want to put additional stress on myself by trying to find another job. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna wait. And luckily throughout that time, I met amazing developers. I got to work with amazing games, Teleforum, then Threshold, then we also got Buckshot Roulette, Mouthwashing, Arctic Eggs, just like incredible games to work with. Really fun, everyone. And so by the time that Critical Reflex established their channel and there was like a whole Discord server and like games started coming out, like Teleforum, then Buckshot, then you had Threshold, Arctic Eggs, like all of those games like coming out, you had basically there was like 150,000 people on the Discord server. And around that time, she also started making an ARG for Buckshot Roulette, and that was a headache because it's like I really like Discord server management, and it was just like we weren't allowed to moderate the chat essentially. One time something was happening, like I flew into the chat, there was a bit of a conflict, I solved it, and then I just kind of like interacted a little bit with the ARG, and then I instantly got a message from Rita on Telegram asking me as to like why was I stealing her kittens when I was just doing my job essentially. And she was like, just moderate the rest of the server, don't touch this one channel. So there was that. She would do a lot of damage control. Anytime someone would leave, she would like do her best to like badmouth them, like say that they did this and that wrong. I can't believe they would do that. When I was going through a hard time, she sent me a voice message like scolding me for disrespecting my superiors. For example, like there was no structure in mind, like no clear understanding of anything, no HR processes at all. Just why are you disrespecting your superiors? That person who left, oh, they suck. And when I tried to quit in the summer of 2024, she basically, like, I sent like a text that was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna quit. And she said, babe, that's vile. Like, I just woke up. Like, you didn't even give me the time to fix anything. And that's what she would always do. Like, people, like, there were many problems that we were having in the community management team. And whenever people would come to her all the time, nothing would get fixed, they would quit. Oh my god, they didn't even give me the time to fix anything. And it's like, it was like this vicious cycle. So, then when I had enough and I just decided to quit, it was really annoying because I came to my supervisor and he let her know. She instantly came into my DMs trying to sweet talk me, trying to like to do damage control, like inviting me to like, I don't know, go here and go there. And it's like, it was bizarre. It was genuinely really bizarre. So now let's jump to the year 2025. So 2025, it's January. I finally find a doctor who is a psychiatrist and a neurologist who gives me an under-the-table diagnosis for autism and ADHD. I got evaluated by her, I did tests, and there was that. I began treatment for ADHD with venlafaxine. I also had generalized anxiety disorder, and basically taking venlafaxine for a month really helped. And that was that. And then I started DBT therapy as the psychiatrist recommended, and I've been going to the same DBT therapist for pretty much almost a year now. So after I got that diagnosis, I just felt so free and happy, and I decided that I'm going to quit soon. So in February, I decided to resign. And during my last 2 weeks, I basically got to know what has been happening to other people, and it just haunted me because throughout this whole time, I thought that it was just me. It was so bad that I was already moving to reunite with my husband, and it was like, the week of my flight, and I did not sleep for 3 days because of how stressed out I was. I end up having psychosis at the Nikola Tesla airport in Belgrade. I get arrested and I get sent to a psychiatric clinic. I am incredibly thankful to the Serbian authorities for all of this. They were great. I unfortunately punched police officers during my psychotic break, and I will attach they're in Serbian, but I'm pretty sure y'all can translate my medical records from that. Even after I reunited with my husband, I was still haunted by all the things that have happened there. And after that, I got hospitalized 2 more times. So it's like, I am almost 24. I'm going to be 24 in January. And I had 3 psych ward stays, all because of the stress that I endured at Critical Reflex. So there's that. And I believe that is all for my public statement. I also want to add that I pretty much am going to quit the gaming industry in 2026. After Critical Reflex, I had the pleasure to work with a different studio that I still work at. And it was just day and night. I have an amazing boss right now, but because of everything that has happened, I can't really work in this industry anymore. Like, it's just been so, despite working with so many amazing people, it was just tainted for me. So I'm just gonna leave the video game industry. There's just that. I wanted to make this statement so that other people are aware of how pretty much predatory producers and publishing can be in the gaming industry. What gave me a lot of courage was hearing the brave creator Yarla of Needy Streamer Needy Streamer Overload. So it's just, and what kind of pushed me to make this statement, I had basically planned to do this in 2026, but I want to leave this behind in 2025, was Jennifer English's speech at the Game Awards. She talked about how she couldn't have done this without her village, her support and everything. And this is what game developers can achieve with the proper support, and they can support each other. Also, Victoria Tran did a talk about kind of urging developers to self-publish, and I know that there are amazing and awesome publishers out there, but I'm just kind of warning y'all, if you're a developer and you want to publish you're working on your first game and stuff like that, just be very, very cautious, put yourself first, kind of look at everything, evaluate everything, and that's that. Peace and love, everyone.